our political opinions that we're getting ready to express. We don't condone what happened or any other type of violence. However, we do see things the way we see it. And so we're going to tell you how we see it, not how the media gives it to you. Okay. And then we're going to get into this Cosby and Felicia Richard stuff at the end.
And don't forget Rudy. She had a couple of things.
Oh, she had something to say.
Too.
I seen her on Wendy Williams. So we're going to get into all that. So anyway, there was a killing in Paris.
At a magazine that does satirical writing. So, kind of how we have maybe The Onion or something like that going on over here, and these brothers didn't like what they had to say. They said they insulted Islam
and Prophet Muhammad, right?
Right.
They're making a mockery out of.
It's satire. It's the way the media puts that little spin on there, like, oh, they're so offended that they offended Islam, but there's enough real media offending Islam for them not to attack a satirical.
Maybe those cartoons is more direct, because what those cartoons remind me of, those cartoonists used to do black people in the early days when they would have cartoons of black men with bug eyes and big purple big lips and man, they was doing that, and they used to do that to raise money. And to well, I'm saying the mainstream media used to do it. Now you might just have some fools doing it, but the mainstream media used to do that, and they used to recruit off of that, and that would have people looking at black people a certain way.
The satire,
right? I get that. Mm-hmm. Do they do the Pope like that? Because they Christians. Now, are they doing everybody like that? That's the whole point. Or are they just doing? You see, do we know?
One set. And no, we don't know, because we have our own.
Because I ain't never seen, even the ones who was racist and used to do black people that way, I never used to see them they used to do Chinese people that way. Mm-hmm. But they wouldn't do white people that way. So how you just.
Never.
So I guess freedom of the speech mean white people got the freedom to do whatever the hell they want to do.
Whatever they want to do.
Is that what freedom of speech mean?
Turn it around.
Y'all tell us.
Depends on whose freedom you're talking about, because then, that also draws the line between what's an opinion writer and versus what's a journalist. There's so much. Journalists go into these dangerous war zones type things all the time. So you kind of have that appeal, when you say, oh, well, 12 journalists were killed in these attacks. So you kind of have that, something
at first they didn't say journalists, they just said people, because they wanted to get the effect, because they know a lot of people don't like the media in general, so they want that effect. And then they kept putting these cartoonists on there, some of their old footage, to humanize them, and they was talking about how strong they was, because they got bombed in 2010,
right? And
for doing the same type of stuff.
The same magazine, or
they the same magazine. In Danish, a cartoonist there, he had disrespected Muhammad, and Muslims felt he had disrespected Muhammad. About 50 people got killed.
And but that was in a different country. But these 12 people, that was the biggest attack on French people.
French people. They're the ones who have this open policy right now. So I'm thinking maybe all the other European countries. You know me, I'm cynical, and I got my philosophy and my conspiracies, and the French have been the most liberal of all the European countries, and so now they.
Well, they've been the most liberal of all.
I'm talking about in terms of letting in Muslims in, because it's like a 30% Muslim over there in certain areas.
Right, and I noticed how even out of all those journalists, the ones that they're focusing on the most were the ones that or actually one or two that were actually Muslims themselves.
When a group of white people kill minorities, everyone know the KKK was never called extremists, never was called terrorists, and they wanted to put them on a pedestal and call them supremists. Supremists, exactly. And so just in Colorado, NAACP
office got bombed. And which happened first? They happened on the same day. I want to say on January 7th. Both the days. Both the attacks happened on the same day. And that's something that's really got to me, because news media is supposed to talk about everything, but of course they can't talk about everything. So they pick what's supposed to hit you at your heart, what's supposed to hit you personally. And it's sad that that's a commentary that what hits Americans personally is Islamic attack half a world away instead of attacks on its own citizens in the heartland.
And that's how it's always
Colorado
been.
is the heartland, though. This is not, it's not like
But it
it's
was
the,
black people.
But it wasn't the South. They couldn't paint it as, just the South.
But this it was the NAACP.
Yeah. And it's all in the middle of all of the police violence and all of this. But the only way you would know about it is if you're listening to us or if you happen to be on Twitter.
Muslims in America get treated better than black people. Like, we want this pluralistic society.
It doesn't exist.
Not for black people. Now, Muslims have been integrated better than black people today. They live more free than us. I mean, I don't hear about Muslims walking down the street other than, right after 9/11. But now today, have you heard about any Muslims being shot by the police or pulled over 400 times? And I know they want to say, well, their economic background is a little bit better. Well, it's a reason for that.
Why is that even? Yeah. Why is that even?
1% of
and it sounds like just 1% is a little bit, but that's a huge number. This is much bigger religion
and
than
they live more.
Christianity. There are more Muslims than there are Christians in the world. So 1% of the Muslims is a big number, is what I'm.
Right. Well, I'm saying they only 1% of America, whereas like in Paris they was 8%. And so when in Paris is like, to me, the way I'm looking at it and my research, it's like the 1950s in Alabama or somewhere in the South. Or even earlier times where people are giving Muslims dirty look just because 2 or 3 Muslims might do something, and the media that's why these people are mad, because they're getting depicted as criminals. And now, what you got to say about that? Because that's how they used to do. They demonize a whole group of people for what small number of people do.
But I'm just thinking about the difference between the French media and American media. So the French media may be demonizing a certain people, like saying, these Muslims that have extremist ties. But here in America, they talked about the brothers for a couple of days who were these terrorists. And today, this morning, they started talking about a hostage situation. And for the longest, for several hours, this hostage situation that was receiving ongoing coverage on the major networks, on CBS, on CNN, on NBC, there's a hostage situation. And it's like, why are they talking about a single hostage in France? I can see if they were talking about the terrorists themselves. Why are they talking about a single hostage themselves? The hostage taker happened to be a black Frenchman.
Of course they're going to do that.
That's the one that American media focused on. He was killed by authorities in their attacks this morning and
we don't even know if he was really the hostage taker. They're just
it's just a black man they put a picture of.
They probably start shooting him for any reason and then start just typing up stuff like that.
And then trying to make the connections.
Because in Philadelphia, when that white dude killed his wife, that's white on white crime, and her family, he was on the run in Philadelphia. How much mainstream media coverage was there? But yet this black man way overseas picture is
on our TV.
On our TV, and yet they didn't do nothing for this white guy who killed his wife. That's terrorist too, and her family. The same thing happened in Southern California when that man went in that beauty shop over a custody battle and shot up everybody. Wasn't on mainstream media. They barely reported in Southern California. But yet now they want to poster this picture up.
Of someone in another country.
And those sound bites are more powerful.
Oh, yeah.
More powerful. I'm going to tell you why they do this. Let me tell you why they do that. Because they want to add to that mental representation. It's, like confirmation bias. Just keep adding it and layering it on and layering it on. And they, based on the characteristics that they already presented to the people or been presented to the people for a long time, all that, whatever, right? And so these habitual way of thinking make the people feel more comfortable.
With their stereotyping of
with their stereotype
people, because now they have a reason.
If it's other people that are doing this, they can justify it. That's just how those people are. But if they put up white people who have been on the run and who's killing people and have that fear of white people, this society would collapse if white people have fear of other white people. it would collapse. So they can't. That's why they don't really do that. When the last time a white person was on the run for murder? It happens almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
But it became a mainstream story.
Yeah, but you never see a manhunt for them.
Like a manhunt. You'll hear about it, but it's never like they don't cut the channel and take you live to where he might be, and
the helicopters above head, and
right? Yes.
That sound and that emotion is not there because that's not what the media does. They want to do that because when they do that, they can take it and flip it over on the movie side and call it entertainment as well. And they got the same people.
Well, that's an excuse. They ain't doing it for entertainment. They doing it for stereotypes and to add to their symbolic, like I was saying, their confirmation biases.
It helps. They do it with their confirmation biases, and then they add to those with movies. They take fictional accounts and real accounts, layer them, use the movies to make money to do more of the same.
Well, I'm saying if it was just about entertainment, they would show the white characters, the white guys, criminals too.
Oh no, I know it's not just about entertainment.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying it's just about entertainment. I'm just saying that adds to it because what sticks in your mind more, the news story, 10 years ago, or the movie that keeps coming on replays over and over and over and over again.
Right, and that also depends on how they did that news story. See, like when they do it with they all out level one and stop everything, like you said, someone out there on the scene, whatever. You remember that. Like we remember we remember that black police officer in LA that was on the run.
Forget that.
What's his name?
Dahmer.
Okay.
All you gotta say is white Bronco. People who wasn't born
but do you remember
there
the white guy who molested some little girls in LA? Who was on the run, went down to Mexico, came back. He was all in Southern California. They should have put fear in all the people because he was molesting little kids.
And he was here.
The two white guys who escaped prison in Southern California, they was raping women that was on the run. They did not once stop the news or the press to tell us about those stories.
And they were on the loose.
They put this picture of this black man way over there in Paris.
Because he's
probably
dangerous.
had nothing to do with it.
And adds comments like, this can happen in America.
With a black face on it.
There's nothing, and when that picture's up, there's nothing to prevent this from happening in America or Great Britain. And I'm looking at it going, no, there isn't.
And the way people treat each other, it's defined by them symbols. Them symbols is very powerful.
Of course, because that's your whole reasoning behind it. I mean, define look suspicious.
Me?
Yeah. You do look a little shady over there.
Oh, cause
you shaded.
Come on.
Over there and
come on. And I'm sitting there going like, and this is why they've been doing this forever. Look what the man on the Family Guy, that cartoon, the creator of that, they had disrespected Muhammad. They was getting them threats and they dropped that episode, right?
Eased up.
But he still do Cleveland. Ain't that blackface? Cleveland, the black character on Family Guy. A white guy does does the character. That's blackface to me on a sneaky level. But what I'm saying is no one really trips off of that. It's no big deal because it's satire. But satire having this powerful effect like it had in the 1920s with them big bubble eyes and them big lips of black,
and and that they still around. You can still go anywhere and catch a mammy doll. Everybody know what an Aunt Jemima is. The company.
What are the white symbols? That's negative.
I'll wait.
I don't understand why white people don't get that. They'll end up calling us racist because we pointed out to them. I mean, is that just stupidity or what?
It is. Because I'm sitting here, I'm still waiting for the white negative symbols, and the only ones I think of are the kids that act black.
But wiggers, but it still goes back to associate with blackness. I mean, Fox News even blaming Obama for what happened in Paris. Sent his budget cuts to the Homeland Security way. I mean, I was
how did his budget cuts on Homeland Security have anything to do with what happens in another country?
How the media works. So I can imagine what they doing to them Muslims. Now, I don't condone what ended up happening, murder,
right? No,
that crime or whatever.
Right.
But I can imagine what them cartoonists they full time. America don't even have cartoonists anymore. I mean, unless you're online or something like
Right.
that, but none of the mainstream media employ them cats. So, because they used to all do that. And look at the effect it had on black people. So you can imagine, it's like they doing what happened in the early
What happened
century
then?
over here is going on over there.
Right. And
Why no one depicted the KKK that way?
the-
They was bombing people. You ain't even hear, huh?
Speaking of which, that reminded me, like right in the middle of some of that coverage.
American citizens.
Right in the middle of some of that coverage, I saw they did there was a gun range that was they said they were promoting gun safety, and there's been a lot of outrage. They had a baby infant, looked like maybe 4 or 5 months old, wearing a little pajama nighty thing that had it was red with a little Alabama A on it, and he was surrounded by guns and rifles, and the baby had like a handgun like laying across its chest and everything. And they said, okay, they were talking about some gun safety, but he really looked like the Grand Wizard, and it blew my mind that the media didn't see that. They were like, oh, that's so unsafe to put the baby there like that. And I'm looking at it like, do you really think that's what they were symbolizing right there? And it blew.
Now, were you a question in the media because you were saying they didn't get it, or did they just ignore it?
Both. At first I thought, there's those general people sitting at that front desk reading the teleprompter might not have got it. But those who put it up there and placed it right between coverages of this terrorist attack, they knew what they were doing, because the whole message is arm yourself.
And what was I saying a year ago? Almost 2 years ago. I was saying it.
You said so much
They
a
was
year
gonna
and 2 years ago. Come
They
on
was
now.
going to start putting a black face on
Yeah,
terrorism.
on terrorism, because before it was
And
all
look,
like,
they just like finding a brother. First, you got these two brothers, right?
yeah.
Almost like the two brothers. It was two brothers in the Boston bombing too.
Mm-hmm.
But they made him look like a rock star on Rolling Stone cover magazine. That's the last image of the white terrorist, so-called. You know what I mean?
Right.
But a brother,
And then his
they
trial
going to
just started.
demean, huh?
His trial just started, or is about to start.
Oh,
The
he
Boston
did.
bomber, right?
Yeah. The young brother, right.
The
yeah,
young brother.
Yeah, and so it was two brothers there, and they still try to humanize them and say, oh, they get radicalized overseas, and they went here. And it's funny how these two brothers in Paris, all of a sudden, they start telling us everything about them. Oh, 10 years ago, they went to Yemen. Oh, they did this or this. Well, why are you letting them in the country if you knew they had
If that's what they've been
Al-Qaeda
doing.
background?
Why they not on the no-fly list? Because they don't
They was
blend.
on the low-fly list. Now they telling us now.
But I'm
so
saying
they swam
blend.
over there. They
They
blend
swim.
in,
They
huh?
blend.
Because if it would have been some dark skin,
Maybe they're over there walking on water. Who knows?
Okay, yeah. So I bet you that. And so now they put the black face on terrorists, and his face is the one that's going to last.
Right.
That's going to be the image of those 12 people being killed, and white America won't even get it. Won't even comprehend.
They won't even realize.
And I don't mean it. Let me not generalize. The ones who won't get it. That's my point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you know what? It's sad to say it's a lot of Black America who won't get it either. They'll look at it and say,
Well, we know they ain't gonna get it.
They still doing that, or are still justifying, because there's a lot of Don Lemons in the world.
Oh, come on. That's why he on TV.
That's why he got a job.